So good evening. We have a very interesting lineup of speakers and topic. So we're going to debate about what is the role of education, marketing and advertising in education, and how it has evolved over the last 2 to 3 decades. So how can a non-profit market itself? And I think that's the generation we come from as well, where there was a maybe a demand for education. At the same time, the supply was not that much. So there was a demand-supply mismatch, and it was considered a taboo for non-profits. Education should first of all be a non-profit, and they should not be marketing. If they are marketing, they are not good enough. Something like that. So that's a mindset we have been carrying. And over a period of time, we have seen that there have been so many educational institutions coming up with the relaxation from the government, support from the government, so many private universities coming up. So is that mindset still relevant about marketing an educational institution, selling a program? There are several institutions who still hesitate from selling a course. So how can you sell a course? So we have admission counselors, but we don't have admission sales reps. So why do we have counselors? So these are some of the points I want to discuss today and hear your opinion. So maybe we can start with Srinivas and hear from him what he thinks about the evolving mindset of people. Should we sell or not sell?
Thanks for this question. Beautiful question. Should we sell or should we not? We should, because things have changed. 94 when I passed out, it means 91 I must have got into the college. Those days we knew that who is supposed to go for engineering and who is not supposed to go. Today's even a 40-45% person can go and say, I want to do engineering. Those days it was not the case. Those days we had about 600-700 institutions pan India. It was clear where to go. Something near your house or 10 kilometers more, or you could at least go there. There was no advertisements done by them. The first day of the college and the last day of the college was same for us. Then when we started coming into the private training institute, we realized advertising is a must. It is required. Because colleges were known, they were prominent, they were unique, they were very limited colleges. But the private training institutes were, I will not say mushroomed at that point of time, but they were mushrooming. So what happened at that point of time? At that point of time, advertising came into the role. We saw advertising coming in. We saw advertisements were done, and it was done at the level of the CEO or the owner of the institution planning these advertisements. But an ad used to generate walk-ins, and that's how all this funnel started coming in. And so do we need to sell in today's context? Today what has happened is the role of what the private coaching centers were at that point of time in terms of mushrooming. Today the higher education institutions are mushroom. You take South Bangalore today, you have 20 choices. 20 choices of higher education institutions. Now imagine how does a student today think about it? What does he do? How does he know? He's just passing from his 12th standard. 11th and 12th are the most dangerous years. There the parent is going to put the fear in the child so much in terms of marks, and then the teachers are going to put in, where does he have knowledge to really go, unless nowadays you have this education fairs. But education fairs, you go, everything looks nice because all the stalls are same. So how do you really go and identify today that this university is something that I like because I have this as my ambition, or I have this as my hobbies, or I have this that I want from an academic institution? You will not be able to go and see that in an education fair. So selling today has become important. An academic institution has to bring out their unique selling points. Of course, there's a lot of debate into it, and I saw some lovely questions that has come in from Sid. And it will be interesting to look at answering along with the panel for this. But to answer your question, is selling required? It is required, because today with the mushrooming institutions, more than 6,000 engineering colleges, more than about 900 plus universities, and if you look at the affiliated colleges and all that, there's no limit to it. It's a very hodgepodge market today in the country, and if you really want to stand out, you have to be smart, because everybody is using a smart device. Our admissions team, our branding and marketing team has, if you ask me, earlier the ad agencies used to get a lot of business from the higher education institutions, because they never hired anything called as a brand specialist or a positioning specialist or a marketing specialist or a director admissions. Today, all these positions are coming across in an academic institution. Why? Because they have realized this. I used to know, some agents used to come and say, today I backed an order for 2 crores. I said, 2 crores? Yeah, that's going to be the value for the next 1 year from this institution. I said, wow. But today you see the kind of budgets that each one of us today hold when it comes to an academic institutions. Dayananda and Sagar University closely holds to about 9 crores worth of budget for a year. More than what an agency must have thought about it. But then all this is coming today if it is planned well and executed well. So all academic institutions of higher institutions who are today putting across these fundamentals into their system, you will see that they are growing. They are growing phenomenally. So selling is required.
Thank you so much. So let me take that question forward to Dr. Vadiraj. So Srinivas said there are so many universities, let's say take an example of even South Bangalore, so many institutions have come up. Now, can an institution, let me take a very diametrically opposite question. Can an institution just say that, hey, I have been here for about last 20, 30 years. I'm doing great. I have so many good students coming to me every year. Let me not do any branding and marketing. So what's your view, Dr. Vadiraj?
Well, see, there are multiple ways to look at this question. One, let me start with why there is a taboo about education need not be sold. We as a society believe education is Ma Saraswati, and there is a lot of sentiments towards education, which as a middle class Indians, we look at our child as, I mean, we invest our lifetime money into child's education. Our dream is to make children good, like how Mr. Srini said, his son is now doing his own startup. So it's such a proud moment for every parent. And education is one thing we don't see it as a very materialistic transaction. Right? And I can give you an example. This is very shocking to me. When I went to Malaysia, there were a lot of fairs. And I first time went representing MAHE, which is Manipal International University, Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. We had one fair. And I see almost every stall has put 20% off on fee, 30% off on fee. I was like, am I buying a soap or is it education? So there are different issues why they are like that. But looking at us as a very large institute, a large brand, see, our branding works in a different way. We have a legacy of 1953 existence, medical education. We have a equally old engineering program. We have alumni strength who are CEOs of Microsoft or something as large as that. Plus our campus experience, the infrastructure we have, the learning softwares we have, that itself serves a lot of branding purpose. No? Word of mouth, experience, student success, placements. But at the same time, we must sell for another program like mine. We have one called Digital and Creative Marketing. It is a very niche program. Today, we are just exercising how to build because the world is developing multifolds in this domain. And I have to catch up as a faculty which is more research oriented. Faculty come from a 20 years back or probably 10, 15 years back. I was practicing today. I don't know how SEO works, how social influencer work, how Google Analytics to be utilized. Internally, we have a lot of difficulty. We must take some external people who have learned it. We have to upskill, but at the same time, we need to make sure these programs are understood to the external world, including an AI engineering program, a digital marketing program, business analytics program. No matter how big we are as MAHE, but these programs need to be understood by the world. So for that, definitely we need branding, we need selling, we need to reach out to people. Conventionally, all engineering programs, all medicine programs, definitely they have different following, different market. But they also need to come up with new programs which need to be educated, and also constantly we need to communicate. And there is in the long run we have to sell. Obviously, we have to sell, right?
Great. So I think what I can take away from this is the way we market it could be a little different. So for existing programs like engineering and medicine, which has an established reputation, so you call a person like Rajiv Chandrasekhar to MIT.
Recently, yes.
Yeah, he came in recently. So
Yeah.
that's some kind of a branding for the
Yes.
institution. So that could be one way of doing it. And like you said, for niche programs, that needs to be a little more aggressively sold rather than
Yes.
doing a soft kind of a branding. Fantastic. So you made one interesting point about those discounts that you saw in those stalls
Yeah.
when you participated. So let me take that question to Uma Shankar.
Yeah,
What's your view, Uma, about discounts? Even today, I see in universities and colleges, they don't call it discounts. The admission counselor says, we will give you a scholarship and you write a
yes,
test and we will give you a scholarship. It's one way of giving a discount, but we hesitate to call it a discount.
yeah, yeah.
But for training programs, which are, skill development programs, not mainstream, there I think a little more flexibility is there in calling it a discount. So why do you think this is happening? Will this change in some time in near future?
Yeah, I think the problem with calling it a discount, and in fact, at AlmaBetter, even being we are a non-traditional platform, right? Education platform. We also don't call it a discount. We call it scholarship too. The reason, and we used to call it discount before, probably about 6 months ago. But when our marketing team came in, we built the marketing team, and we started thinking about it. There is a lot of value difference that in perception of the users when you use the word discount, right? When you say discount, you're then essentially calling it a product, right? You're saying, hey, you buy it and that's it, right? um, it just becomes very transactional. But if you call a scholarship and then gives a task to the user to do something and gain that scholarship, it could just be filling a form, it could just be taking a short test, aptitude test, right? It just increased the amount of visibility for our brand. It also increased the amount of trust the user comes in with to take our course when we call it a scholarship. Because then they say, hey, I am eligible for this scholarship, I have worked on this, or I took this test and I got this. It's far more valuable than just getting a discount directly from a salesperson. You were lucky, or you got the discount on a 30th day of the month because the guy had to close the sale, all of that, right? So I think I'm leaning more towards the word scholarship, and I think there is a problem calling it discount, because, at least for the educational services, because that just changes the perception, right? You can play with either, but I think in our domain, at least in the higher education space that we are working in, this has helped a lot. Um, I would probably give discount for items that I would sell, or probably books that I'd sell through the course, but not for the entire experience. That's it. Yeah.
Sure. So which means that it's more of a feel good factor, the way the student or the parent would feel about it the moment you call it a discount, vis-a-vis
Correct.
you make him or her do an activity like filling a form, as you said, or take up a test or participate in some activity in your institution, and in return you offer a waiver in the tuition fee.
Exactly, and it's also important because the way the institution can also market this entire experience is going to be very very different when you call it discount, right? So then I can say, hey, I'm offering so many crores worth scholarships to these students, and in fact, you can get more partners on board, for your scholarship as scholarship partners if you do that. But if you just say discount, then I'm just giving discount on my cost sale price, right? So I think it limits a lot. The word itself is limiting compared to scholarship. Yeah.
I think the tuition waiver word is not used or understood here compared to Western universities.
Yes.
So that would have been somewhere in the middle, neither a discount nor a scholarship.
No,
Great.
but
Anyway,
they have so much of organized effort. They have put middlemen working through so many people selling for them. They have got a better ecosystem. They have got incentives for everybody in the circle, so it works better for them.
Yeah.
right. Makes sense. Okay, going back to Srinivas and taking the point which you had made earlier about so many programs and so many universities now being available, and
Right.
the student is literally spoiled for choice in today's world, vis-a-vis 30 years ago where we had limited choices, and depending on the marks, we would choose a place to go or not go. But today, students have choices to make, and how do universities also ensure that they get the right fit of students, and at the same time students are able to do a better justice while selecting a university? So some kind of a hyper personalization in choices, do you think is possible or happening right now?
Great question. As I said, the mushrooming of the higher education institutions, and if somebody at the level of a student or a parent has to look at any of these institutions, it becomes very difficult for them to find out which one is the best. All people in all advertisements say they are number one. We have to now start saying number one in the lane. Close by to us when we come to South Bangalore. Probably in that lane also there are smaller and bigger ones available. But education institutions face specific challenges and opportunities when it comes to the marketing and admissions, as attracting the right students essentially for their success. So I, in fact, thought about it, because when I conduct training programs for my sales team across, it's not what they are going to go and do, but it's what they are going to create, what they're going to talk about the institution and take it to the market. One reason is because of increased competition. There's a fierce competition among marketing education institutions, both traditional universities, online platforms. This makes it challenging and to stand out and attract high quality applicants. Now, between the institutions, they need to understand who am I going to attract. And this is very, very crucial for the team that is today handling the admissions. I make sure that we inform the team that let this segment go to others. We don't want this segment. Now, where does this come from? This comes from the pedigree that is happening in the institutions. And maybe Dr. Vadiraj may look forward to accepting it, because when we teach them these kind of market, we talk about the 3 Ps and all those things. All of that today has to be brought into practice. The culture of an academic institution is very, very important. Very, very important. Second, I look at the changing demographics, understanding and meeting the needs of the diverse students, because you have students coming, because nowadays your focus has increased. Earlier it was, when you talk about a university, maybe you talk about a school, it's only 3 kilometers, 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers. But for a university, it used to be 10 kilometers because people are not going to travel. Now you have hostels available. So it's like go across, and then you have multicultural, food available. So they say, okay, travel across the country and bring students. So the changing demographics of an institution today has increased, and thereby it has increased immense opportunities within the admission team of a particular university. But the force of visualizing this is very important in the team. For example, at Dayananda Sagar University, prior to we coming into the system, there was nothing called as admissions team. There were 1 or 2 people, that's it, and 3-4 counselors, that's it. Somebody from the administration department was controlling it. Now you see there is a full-fledged 55-member team. Somebody may say 55-member team, why man? What are you doing, guys? Spending throughout the money just because you have been given budgets? I said no. We understood today what Dayananda Sagar University fundamentals are. Now that fundamentals has to be taken across the country, because the management said we are ready to look at students from across the country. You cannot go to a place like Patna or a place like Bhopal or a place like Indore and say I am available for 5 days in this hotel, come and meet me for admission. Those days have gone. It was good 10 years back. Now it's not, because everybody is going to hotels and staying and saying come and meet us and in 5 days. It doesn't happen. We had a very different strategy saying, okay, let's clear clusters. Let's put in people. Is there a work available for people? For universities who do not have a vision, there is no work for people in clusters. They close down the office the moment the admission activity is over. But for us, my people are more busy when the peak admission cycle reduces. Why? Because we said my segment comes from a PU college. I'm not going to advertise, but in fact, I have a target. I have to bring down my print budget from whatever it is to 50% in 3 years, to 80% in 5 years, and we should be 0 in print by the time I reach the 7th year. 0 in print. And we have done that over the last 3 years. What used to be spent earlier has been brought down drastically. But on the other side, the best thing that we have done is we started putting things in the technology. Technology in the admissions team. Technology today in the website. A whole lot of digital activities are being done. We also make sure that we understand what this university is doing, because those are going to be the part of the community. For example, the lot of people today have got financial barriers because higher education institutions have become for profit, though they say it's a trust and no profit. But the moment I say no profit, my boss will throw me out next minute. Admission team today is required because you know the money, the students that you get in, that feeds the university for the next 4 years. Of course, every year there are students coming in and every year there are students passing out. But any university where the admission cycle has been good, that university you will see is healthy. Any university where the number of admissions were less, you will find that department number of faculties are going to be less, and anything less is always going to be less only. So that's another thing that we have seen at Dayananda and Sagar University over the last 3 to 4 years. Other thing is the financial barriers. Students have got, nowadays people charge heavy. It's not easy today. An engineering student today coming into a place like MAHE or Dayananda and Sagar University or PES or Chandigarh University means a 15 to 20 lakh investment for 4 years. So you have to understand 15 to 20 lakhs. Maybe a metro city parent may be able to bear it, but what about student who's not able to bear it from outside? How do we do it? So you need to make sure that there is good amount of facilities available where there are easy, nowadays even before you buy anything, there is a loan available. Similar thing has to be today also done for the academic institutions who think about it, even if they are premium institutions. Because I have seen good universities today coming down the ladder. Reason, they felt they are always good. But over a period of time, they didn't realize that there's a lot of new things that are happening. There are parents today who want to come in, but the affordability is a question. Try to bring out saying that there are today options available. Second, be prepared with all the admission scandals that have happened in the past. I would always recommend to higher education institutions, do not work with consultants. Because what they promise, you never know. Dayananda and Sagar University used to be 90% depending on consultants prior to we coming into the system. Last 4 years, it is zero consultants, zero. It means the capability has been built in the university. Capability is basically a long-term process, because our topic today is about institutions. No activity in the institution is short-term. It's all long-term. 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. If somebody is doing UG plus a PG, it is 6 years. Nothing is short. If it is not short-term, then why should my campings be short-term? It has to be long-term and it has to evolve. And that is the challenge today to the academic delivery team. And when we have meetings, we have joint meetings today. Today, the admission department, person, whoever is heading in various universities should be brought into the academic board. Because he's going to make one point very clear. If we do not work as a team, all of you coming together, helping us to understand that, for example, a unique selling point about a course. How does today a marketing person know what is the unique selling points about a course? Every university has faculties. I also have faculties. They have good classrooms. I also have good classrooms. They have good content. I also have good content is available on the website. You can do Control-C, Control-V. But today when an inquiry comes in, he's not going to ask, what are you teaching today? Oh, you're not teaching this. Oh, you're not teaching. He doesn't. So it becomes more challenging today for the admission team to understand how do I really put across a beautiful picture, but it should be a factual picture. Second, adopting to technological changes. Admission teams have to adopt to technological. It has to be a beautiful online activity, smooth, user friendly. So that means a lot of because the experience of an applicant is what he's going to go and share with his friends. So I need to make sure that adapting to technological changes is at the highest. Next, the diversity and inclusion. A lot of diversity is there from institutions because now their vision has increased. For that vision to increase, how do I satisfy the owner's vision today? I have to make sure that these things are being brought into it. Second, a holistic admission. It is beyond grades and test scores. I need to make sure that the campus life is brought to him in different communications. As we said, students to students, the requirement for a university is different today. Somebody who's going to be in Bangalore, wants an institution in Bangalore, still has got a requirement. Somebody who's going to come all the way from different parts of the country into Bangalore, what is the message we talk about it? So we started saying Bangalore advantage. It's not that I have created the Bangalore advantage. There's already a Bangalore advantage. But how many people have actually brought in the Bangalore advantage in front of the students, in front of the parents? Especially, you can understand a person sitting today in Ranchi or a person today sitting in Jamshedpur. He has to come all the way and sit. So holistic admission approach, digital marketing, of course, it's the key. As I said that, the target given by my management to me is we have to come down to zero when it comes to print budget. So we started the digital marketing team in the university, whereas earlier the digital marketing used to be outsourced and the management never realized what did they gain after spending so much money in digital marketing.
So you made a very interesting point about the print part.
Zero, they used to give to the digital marketing because they never understood. But today, if you ask me, digital marketing is the soul of the entire admission cycle. Second, all communications that we do in the university, as I also made a statement, you cannot talk about fake things. People realize it very smart. Our upcoming children are very smart. They will immediately check what you are saying and say you are saying false. So you are saying wrong. Go to Quora and check. There is a complaint about you that you're not offering this, and you are saying that you are good in this. So personalization and true factor about your institution has to be brought across in various lines, which means you need a content team, you need a video editing team to be brought into your admissions team. And of course, you talked about discount, scholarships. Yes, there has to be scholarships available for people on merit. And those scholarships has to be fundamentally given by an institution, not looked at as a loss. You should have 10%, 12%, 15% cream crowd coming in. This cream crowd is purely on merit. For example, we conduct our test. Our test is sometimes severe than the JEE testing activity also, because people who have cleared JEE were unable to clear our test.
I think I just don't want to miss that point which you made regarding digital. Digital versus print. That's the point I actually want to take it forward to Uma Sankar. We will come back to you on the other part. That's a very, very interesting point about print versus digital. Since Uma, we have a surplus of institutions, as I said earlier, and print advertisement, obviously, it will continue to be there for some time. But how does a student using, let's say, AI or some other tool is able to check out which is the most suitable university or program for me among so many choices? Is there a way you see that happening?
Yeah, see, I think right now I don't see I think it's a startup idea, right? Whatever you just said, I think someone needs to build this. There is right now no tool for students to discover. This is actually dangerous because your YouTube or your LinkedIn or your Google, like I think Sir was talking about SEO optimization and all of that, right? So I think whoever wins that game, they are going to be in the discovery for the student, right? So whatever shows up on my screen is what I'm going to look at, right? It's not going to be, it is going to be biased. It is going to be biased on the history they have viewed, the places they have been to. So the entire AI game is very different, right? So I think it's going to be incredibly hard and even more harder for student to even discover what is relevant for them, right? And to some extent, I think word of mouth and experiences from the alumni or other students who have been at the institution, who have applied to the institution, definitely helps.
I think in your case, the salary packages that your website shows is a big attraction.
Exactly, right? I think that's the USP that Sir was talking about, right? How do we, what are those 2-3 key points that will help you stand out from the crowd? I think unless your team knows them in and out and advertises them actively, it's going to be very hard for the student to find out. And it's, in a way, I feel like it's disservice to the student because they actually, the university should have gotten that student. The student should have gotten to the university, but it doesn't happen because of these AI and other things that coming in between, right? So it's a very interesting play. I've seen, so I spent 2 years, doing my master's at Harvard. One of the things that I saw in the US is that they have companies which rate, schools and the programs they have, right? And to the minutest level possible, so that the users know exactly, hey, here are my criteria, which are my top 10 choices, right? While we have some rating systems in India, I feel like they are limited to they're still like, these awards, right? They're still very closed, and you sort of never really find out what is the real information at this point, right? I think it's a startup idea in itself. This is something that I probably explore 5 years later. There is huge value in helping an user find the right institution for themselves. Yeah.
My biggest fear, Uma, is that
Yeah.
AI will become a over glorified SEO, and
Hmm.
SEO is eventually a financial game. The more money
Maybe.
and people you can pump in, you can always
Unfortunately.
get on top of the results.
Exactly.
So
But
let
I
me.
think still today's generation will rely on something like SEO more than advertising, because
Hmm.
that looks truth. It may not be 100% true, but it has algorithm which we play with. But
Hmm.
SEO is going to give them more confidence. But there are other parameters to evaluate as well.
Hmm.
True, true.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Vadiraj, how does one measure the ROI of a marketing effort? Because if you're going to just say, okay, this is the money I pump in and these are the admissions I get, so that is most direct way of measuring. But what do you think? What is your opinion?
It depends on which institute we are talking. If you're looking at something like probably MIT in MAHE,
Hmm.
maybe a few lakh people apply every year. I would be happy if I get more applications. I would be happy if more people come to know about me as a brand. If they internalize more about my student achievements, my salary packages, and there is a high brand likability or more affection towards my brand. But if you look at younger programs, there is investment, there is a lot of skepticism how we come up. So it's a different challenge. So you need to build a set of buyers, more applications. Eventually we stabilize, we grow. It's a different path. Again, it depends what kind of programs. Season programs need higher top of mind recall, more quality applications. Eventually we get best of the talent in the country. Again, it's a different ball game. In MAHE itself, we have 4 campuses today in Bangalore, Manipal. We have in Jamshedpur, we have something in Jaipur. Within our campuses, we have a much stiff competition to really make our own brand subsidiaries stand out. That is one bigger challenge. But if we look at overall as a brand, I would look at which program I'm talking. If I'm looking at medical, I want to attract more higher talent, quality talent. More people know about it, more awareness, more affection. But the newer programs, especially humanities, we are the next generation revenue earners for universities. So we are going to be more. We need to build up, sustain, attract more crowd, more applications. So that's how I look at ROI goals for those.
I think you also answered a very important question which we had picked up earlier. So for established institutions and programs, so the more marketing and branding you do, the better quality of students might turn up each year to the campus. So branding
Yes.
should not
Should be continuously doing. Yes, it should continue. Yes.
stop even for established programs. Can you?
Yes.
Yeah. So for a new program, since you're talking about a new niche program that you are trying to offer, don't you think it's going to be a tad easier for MAHE to push the program vis-a-vis a new brand which is trying to sell in the market?
Uh, I would look at it. I mean, I'll tell you my own program, how we look at it. See, Department of Commerce, we are in existence for 15 years. We are a school of roughly 1,800 students. Okay.
Mm.
Uh, Among our own star brands like MIT and Medicine School, we are nowhere as a brand within our own hierarchy. But having said that, in last 15 years, we built UG, which is about 700-800 students in campus in any time, PG about 400-500 students. And we have a different MBA department with all this being separated. So when I want to build a new program, new programs, you may get some inroads, and our conventionally MAHE is not a very out and out advertising oriented organization. So they feel a program has a potential, has to grow over 2-3 years of sustenance. There's something we can deliver is the confidence they have. Then they slightly take it in a big way. So currently all our newer programs are 2-3 year old. So we have experimented our capacities. We have placements we've been providing. We have international, what do you call it? We have collaborations in industry, which is consistently delivering. And we are into new area called digital marketing, analytics. These are changing every day. Conventionally, universities are all about research. There is a lot of requirement for upskill. There is a lot of collaboration. So these are something we are building. We're making sure that we deliver value. Like as I speak today, we have just about 30 cohort program in MA Digital. By and large, everyone plays today. They're all happy about going in another 2 months to industry. So this is one. But rest of MAHE takes care of other brand values, which is about a great campus, greenery, student facilities, a great hospital care, including how we touch each student. So I can give you a simple example of one of my student here. 10 years back, I had a student from Delhi. He was one of the very big bureaucrat's son. I never knew this when I was interacting with him. So this boy was used to be little low for some time. So I realized I used to speak like any human, nothing very different. As a friend, as a teacher, I used to really uh, pump him up, whatever. So I realized later his father came about few days later. So he just walked into my office and said, "Okay, you are Mr. Vadiraj. I'm so and so. I'm from telecom ministry. I recently lost my father. My son has already always lived with my father because I'm a very busy bureaucrat. So in that depression, he could not cope up, and you were the only solace because of which he was very happy and he's recovered and he's fine." So these aspects from a faculty, when they were sick, unwell, when they don't know what to do, being a morally high character, those all will play a role in your admission, not just what we do in digital marketing. So yes, there is SEO, there is social stories, student success to be shared, student experience should be shared. So these are all part of an ongoing journey. But apart from this, what they get to do as an experience, colleagues, college, campus, all will matter at the end of the day.
Good point. So let me take a very diametrically opposite question to Uma Shankar from a startup perspective.
Yeah.
Now we have on one hand we have Dayanand, Sagar, and we have got MAHE, which can just get some alumni and flash some testimonials. So they have so many managing directors and CEOs from MIT, who have made a name across countries. Vis-a-vis a new institution, a startup which has got an empty classroom and wanting to do something and fill those classrooms. So what do you
Yeah.
think would be those possible challenges, and how does one overcome it without splashing those ads or without selling the courses per se?
Yeah. Yeah. Something we've been trying to do, because of course we are short on money, compared to institutions, right? Um, what can we do is to have more proof points of excellence, right? So something that we did early on is that work with a less small batch of students,
Hmm.
get them placed in really good companies, because then they become ambassadors for us, right? Because in an institution like us, which is pretty much virtual, right? It's non-existent in a way,
Hmm.
physically, right? The only thing that matters is word of mouth and success stories and placements, right? These were our USPs, and we play with them.
Hmm.
I think getting to the first 10 success stories helped us get to the next 100. And the first 100 helped us get to now we have almost 2 lakh learners on our platform, right? And of course, some of them stay for 6 months, 7 months, some stay for 2 years. And of course, our goal eventually is also to increase the lifetime value of customer who comes to us, right? That's where we are inching towards. But, our system works very differently from a, educational traditional institution, in which once a student enters a campus, they're going to be there for at least a couple of years, right? And it's a valid degree, it's regulated, it's a very different environment. Whereas ours is more like, hey, you come in, do the course, get placed, go ahead, right? So the it's a less, the life cycle is very short,
Short.
and within that time we have to show them, hey, this is what you're going to get. And that's what helps us get to more and more students. And I think in our context, the SEO plays a big role, because for us discovery is everything. If someone discovers our platform, then I know it's like almost like a idli dosa restaurant, right? You get the customers and you make them, you help them taste that first idli, and then they're going to be there, they're going to be repeat come to you, right? So in future, if I open any other course, they're going to come back again. Right, I don't intend to have them for very long. It's going to be a quick service, but then I want them back for some other course. So for us, it's a very different context, and SEO, that's why I say, plays a big role for us. But whereas a holistic approach, like Vadiraj sir said, is much more powerful when it comes to a long-term association with an institution for a student. So yeah, that's my take.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Srinivas, one last question, and others can feel free to add on. You said Dayanand Sagar itself has got so many campuses and planning to come up with a few more. Manipal has got so many campuses now, and so many established universities are just expanding. BITS has got campuses across cities and even internationally. So with so many campuses coming up, and you said the differentiating factor is very minimal, especially amongst the established brands. So as Dr. Vadiraj said, SEO is same, digital is same. Everybody has got a campus, everybody has got a nice hostel and all these things. So how do you think at least these established universities, which are rapidly also expanding, how are you guys going to differentiate in future? What are those trends that you foresee in future?
One of the greater things that come, when does an academic institution today expand? They expand today when they know that certain things worked for them. Which means there's a fundamentals created for each institution to grow. So, for example, PES, how did they grow from one campus to multiple campus? Dayananda Sagar University, or for matter MAHE. The first campus and the fundamentals in that first campus and the time duration, because nothing in an academic institution is overnight.
Absolutely.
It takes minimum 5 years to put in a place. Your 2 batches has to pass out. These fundamentals are nothing but they are called as your best practices. And best practices cannot be under Control C, Control V. You cannot do it. Somebody has to make sure that the emphasis of these best practices is brought across in the right words, in the right era, in the right fashion. And nowadays, students and parents are keen. Say, for example, we do a lot of campus info sessions. A campus info session is like a webinar. What do we do in these webinars? We have the Vice Chancellor available in each and every webinar we do. That's the seriousness. Otherwise, somebody can say, doesn't your Vice Chancellor have time? Yeah, he's into all this. He takes out time because he wants to tell the people that anything that happens in this university, he's involved. So he comes in, the dean of that institution comes in, and there is an industry person who comes in. And industry people will be more, there will be 2 or 3. Reason, we want to show them the P degree. Somebody talks about, for example, we launched a new program called a BTech in AI and robotics. New course. Management said, okay, this year we'll put 30, then next year 60, and then maybe in the 4th year 120. This year we got 120. How? How did you get 120? We conducted close to about 40 different webinars. Every time the dean is available, the vice chancellor is available, but the industry people change. And people talked about cognitive technologies. People talked about what's happening in the US. People talked about job roles. People talked about that maybe a computer science could be good, but probably if you get into this field, this is futuristic. And we got good sizable number of applications that we could not get even for some of the other courses. Why? Because people started understanding this. You educated students. And that education that we gave to the students was not from a marketing point of view. It was from a technical point of view. Because these students who apply today for such courses, they come and tell you that because of this point I'm taking, oh, you talked about these job roles. I am attracted towards those job roles. Oh, you talked about these industries and applications. Oh, I like these applications. So this is the way today I would say that we need to look at in terms of an academic institution's fundamentals, so that is on the basis of which today it is expanding, has to be brought. The best practices of an A institution, you will not find it in the B institution. They have their own processes for designing what is their best practices. So focus on the best practices, no compromise on that. For example, when we have the management meeting, we make it clear that if there's something new evolving out of it, I'm happy, but the existing ones cannot go down. Those are my pillars. And those are something which we do not use in our advertisements, but we use in our content. We use in our content marketing whenever we talk to a student, we talk or we send something to the parents saying that this is the information which we want you to use in your comparison activity with other universities. And if you find this, you are most welcome to go to that university. So that's how we have been doing, and we see that yes, departments have been gaining momentum. Each and every faculty has understood its importance. He doesn't say it's a marketing department activity to get admissions. No, he is involved. Imagine if a dean and his faculties are involved in 40 webinars. Imagine how much of time they have to take out to come out from their activities and be available for this. And no webinar comes without preparation. So which means he has to fundamentally be prepared. And the vice chancellor has a pre-event meeting with all of them just to check how are you going to bring your differentiator of a department in this call today, where you have to talk about everything in 10 minutes. So that's the focus today, where the people are being involved. And as we rightly said, let everybody be a part of the same team. Admission team doesn't mean only admissions. The entire university, faculties, everybody is going to be a part of it, and hence we call it as a team. So that's my take on this.
As adding on to Mr. Shinde's point, see, Dayananda Sagar has proved itself, or a MAHE has proved itself over decades that this is the value add we bring. But look at market, Bangalore advantage, what sir has said, there's a very interesting proposition to it. Today, there are enough millions of people who live abroad where their children are not getting visas for continuing after 18 years. They all look for education somewhere in India because they are Indians predominantly. They have to come to Bangalore. They have to come to probably my Bangalore's campus, or Sir's campus is going to deliver that kind of student cohort. There is a big market which is outside. Similarly, we have a medical college in Jamshedpur because eastern part of India, we don't have such a good quality education. There are no institutions. So a college which is into MBBS probably in Jamshedpur will do that service. So in the northern part, we don't have great quality education probably, or maybe their market is underserved for certain programs, certain legacy. So we open somewhere in Jaipur that is going to be fulfilled. So it is a very thought out exercise. And also, like you mentioned, Bits Pilani doesn't need to tell anybody, hey, I'm here, I'm someone called Bits Pilani. He is known everywhere, right? So he comes there. Obviously, the lower, less known market players will be difficult. Similarly, for Uma, if he expands this beyond India today, I don't know how much he gets foreign students. He's going to be well accepted because he's proven here. So yes, I'm sure as a brand, he's going to be getting that attention.
Which means that proving today has become very, very important. Unless you prove, unless your first batch moves out with your, and then of course you have a lot of learning that is going to come out of it. But all of that has to be driven towards positives and not towards fooling or not towards creating fake data. And that's where I think the longevity of any of these brands will continue today.
Agree.
Uma, would you like to add something?
No, I think I agree with all the points. Especially, I think it's a game of it's more of I would say you have multiple institutions catering to multiple types of people. I think everybody has a piece that they can definitely work with and cater to. I think finding that right set of students who you are going to serve is going to be the key, right? There is no dearth of students. There is no dearth of institutions. Right, despite we say that there are a lot of institutions and we have very few students. It's not the reality. There are still a lot of unemployed graduates, a lot of people who don't even have degrees, right? So I think, how do we then offer our services or customize our service in such a way, like Sir Vadiraj sir rightly said, right? According to the geography you are in, what are the need, right? If you're able to identify that and then offer programs and services accordingly, I think all of us together will be doing a great service, right? Instead of, and there is no, I don't see competition. I don't want to call it competition. I think it's more of a collaborative effort by, traditional institutions and non-traditional institutions like us, that is going to take it further for everyone, right? It's the win-win for me, honestly. I think people haven't spent enough time to think about that win-win situation, that they end up thinking here it's going to be difficult. But I think it's how you figure that out.
I think good point. In fact, I would say the line is blurring between traditional and non-traditional. Even conventional universities have to ensure that students are trained and industry ready. So it's no longer about churning out graduates who are not employable and then they go to training centers. So that I think line is gradually blurring. So as you rightly said, it has to be a collaborative effort between both kinds of institutions.
Yeah.
Great. So I think fabulous discussion. Let me summarize the points. I've made a note of it. So all of us feel that marketing is definitely okay, but the terminology still matters. So we cannot call it a discount. We should still call it a scholarship because there is a feel good factor there. Um, SEO and money is really helpful, but that is more of a transactional thing. What eventually counts is the best practices, as Srinivas said, that needs to be adopted. So best practices are what differentiates you from the rest of the crowd in the market. For new institutions, it is going to be difficult, but at the same time, they should not adopt false advertising and wrong methods to grow fast. In the long run, you will definitely benefit. There are institutions that have stood the test of time, like Dayananda, Sagar, and MAHE, by doing a great job, making sure that students do well in life. And that has eventually helped them get better students as an input. So the output eventually defines the input. As Dr. Vadiraj said, personal touch matters. So having a good relationship with students and ensuring that you are there when they require, that is more important than just being the students just being a number of admissions. So it should not end up like that. They have to be treated well, and they will obviously remember that. And word of mouth eventually helps grow your admissions. I think that's about it from my side. It was a lovely discussion with all of you, professionals from diverse universities and diverse kinds of institutions. Thank you so much for joining us today in this panel.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.